Hi, welcome. This is going to be a tutorial on quickly improving any photo in Adobe Lightroom. I use Lightroom for about 90% of my processing. So what I'm going to do is get a cell phone picture and just demonstrate how we can quickly run through the options on Lightroom and improve it quickly. So the first thing that we have to do is go to this import dialog here. If you have a memory card inserted, it will show up over here. So what I did is I walked outside and took a picture with my cell phone of my son, and we'll use that one to demonstrate this. This is your import dialog. Any of the pictures that show up in your location are going to show up here. You can increase the size to view these if you need to. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually uncheck all of them and then just select this one that I want to. Over here on the right hand side you've got some options as far as how you're going to import these. I'm not going to get into very much of this. I'm just going to kind of show you the basics here. So you're going to have to decide where you want to store your photos, but I'm just going to go ahead and pick the same folder that I had. I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to organize by date. You've got all these options here of how you want to organize them by date. You can come in here and original folders into one folder. You can pretty much set it up however you want. You're going to go ahead and click the import button. When you're ready to work on it, you're going to go up here and click on this develop button. Okay, so let's get started on this. Now I said that I was going to make this a video on how to do it quickly, so let me show you. Get right into it. If you look right over here, there's an auto button. Go ahead and click on it. Now a lot of the times you're going to have a different result with the auto button. Sometimes it's going to, like on here, it brought my exposure down too far. The reason for that is it's seeing this overexposed area over here, and it's trying to balance out the entire picture. Well, we really only care about the middle of the picture. We're not really concerned with this over here. Most of the time, this auto button is going to give you a really good result. So just even that, I think if we look at the before and after, you're going to see that that's a better picture. What I like to do is start from the top and work your way down through these settings. The first one is your white balance settings. The best way that I like to explore these options is actually just go ahead and play around with them. You can see if you crank this clear down there, it's very blue. This way, same thing, turns very yellow. White balance is a creative setting. There's no correct setting for this. It's to your personal taste. There are a lot of people that like to make sure their white balance is correct for the setting that they took the photo in. I really don't like that. I like to do it however looks best to me. If you do want to get an accurate white balance to where you were, there's this eyedropper tool here. You need to find a neutral color and you can click on it. Notice over here in the navigator pane, when I move over these different colors, it's given us a preview of what's going on. So if I'm looking for kind of a neutral gray, maybe I clicked on that, that's going to give us a very close white balance to what the original white balance was. Personally for me, I usually like a little bit warmer photo. I went ahead and moved that up a little bit. Okay, exposure. I think this decreased the exposure a little too much, so I'm going to come back in and bring that up just a touch, somewhere about there. Contrast. The auto tone usually will knock down your contrast a little bit, and I like to bring it back a little bit. You can see, again, just play around with the slider. I think the best way to see what one of these sliders does is to go ahead and move it all the way to one side or the other. So let's bring that up to about 10 or so. That looks a little better. Highlights. Now this one works really great inside of Lightroom. This is probably one of my favorite sliders. See, we've got some blown out areas over here, And what highlights is going to do, if you reduce that, you'll notice that some of these blown out highlights in the rocks here, in the concrete, it brings them back. You can see a lot more detail. This might not be the best photo to show this, but you get the idea. So I'm going to bring that down to there. Shadows. Shadows is going to bring out the opposite of highlights. So whites, again, if you just drag it back and forth, you can see what it does. One tip that I like is if you hold down the Alt key and slide this, it's going to show you what information you're losing. And by that I mean these highlights right here, if you take these whites way up, it's just going to blow those out, so you're not going to have detail in those. So if you try and keep it at a minimum there, then that works. Same for the blacks. The blacks is a slider that I almost always go negative with. Decreasing the blacks gives your picture a lot more depth. The same thing with that. If you hold down the Alt key, you can kind of see where that takes it out. This one, I think we can take this quite a bit further down. And then from there, you kind of just play around with it to where you want it to be. Okay, next here is the clarity slider. If you just slide it all the way, you can see what it does there. All the way that way, you can see what it does there. I like clarity on landscapes, usually work with clarity. Pictures of women and girls, it doesn't look as good. It makes their skin look a little rough, so be careful with that. Vibrance is the muted colors in a photo. So let's probably look at, you know, it looks like there's some colors in the sidewalk here, some colors in the purple back there. Those aren't the dominant colors within the photo. So if I crank this all the way, you'll see that, yeah, it brought in some blues in here, brought in some more yellows back there. You see that purple went way up back there. The same if you go all the way down, then you're losing all the non-dominant colors are going to be a lot more muted. You can see the yellow is actually still fairly bright there. So a lot of the times that looks good, just a little bit up. Saturation you need to be really careful with. Oversaturate your photos and they're just going to look terrible. If you see how that just brings out the dominant colors in the photo. Your dominant colors are this blue, the yellow in the flower here, a little bit of the greens back here. So that's going to amplify those. The same this way, you notice that all the colors just disappear because that's desaturating all colors. So I don't think this photo needs any saturation change at all, so I'm just going to put that back to 0. The next thing I'm going to go to down here is the details. Details is sharpening as well as noise reduction. Now sharpening, this is a cell phone picture like I said, but so, you know, we could try and sharpen it. There's probably not a lot we can do with it. Cell phone cameras are only as good as they're going to be, but let me show you kind of what it does here. So what we're going to want to do is zoom in so we can actually see what it's changing, and then go ahead and increase this sharpening. Now I can see right away that that's giving a little bit of haloing. Haloing is just this, you can see it's making a glow around that edge. If I turn that off, it's not as noticeable. So I'm going to have to decrease that a little bit. And then I'm going to want to put the radius in here as well. Masking is actually going to look for solid areas, and it's going to reduce the sharpening in those areas. So if it's someone's face, typically like to go ahead and put the masking setting up so that it's not sharpening their face as much, because it'll not do as much to the skin tones yet. It will sharpen the eyes, things like that. If you ever want to look at what that's doing, you just have a little switch up here that you can turn on and off to view it. So if I turn that off, you can see that the picture did get sharper, and that looks pretty good. The next one down here is the noise reduction. Okay, so noise reduction, you can see that there's some grain in the shirt. This isn't a low light shot, so there's not a lot there, but you can see that it does smooth that out. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on your screen, but it definitely smooths it out a little bit. And if you ever want to go and look at what that's doing, just go to your before and your after. Now the only problem here I was just noticing is it really seemed to have blurred out his hair right here. So I think that's too much. I'm going to back that off and zoom back out there. Okay, the final thing that I'm going to look at in this video is the effects panel here. What this does is this will apply a post-crop vignette. And what that does is either darkens or lightens the edges of your photo. Personally, I've never gone with lightening, just don't like it. That's personal preference though, that's something you can do. What I like to do is just put a little bit in there. You can adjust the midpoint with that. The roundness, you can see how that changes it. Let me go ahead and just make this really dark so you can see that well. So I think about there looks good. The next thing is the feather. I like to feather these a lot. So I'll crank up that feather slider quite a bit. Obviously that's too much, so let's bring that back. Maybe about there. Before, after. What this does is it just really gives you focus on the subject in your photo. Okay, so from here I'm going to go back up to the basic panel up here. Anytime you want to see your before and after, you can just hit your backslash key on your keyboard and it will actually show you before here. So that's our original image that we brought in, and that's it after we've done just a little bit of work. I did this slowly, but once you get used to this could have been done in under a minute easily. This is very simple, basic stuff. So as you can see, that really improved our photo. There are a lot more options in Lightroom for doing a lot more stuff. That's as much as I want to get into with this video. The only one that I'm going to show you real quick is the crop. That's very easy. And actually, if we did this, it would get rid of our blown out highlights over there. The other thing that you can see is that effect. This is a post crop, so it actually just brought our vignette with the crop. Anytime you want to go back and just reset that, you can. The last thing I'm going to show you is what to do with this photo if you wanted to post it like on Facebook, Google+, something like that, or if you wanted to email it out to someone. Go to the library. You're going to select the photos that you want. Of course, we only have one photo, so that's selected, and click export. These are some presets that I actually have set up. I think 1200 pixels is a really good size it's small enough to email out, it's big enough to post on most websites. Click on that and take a look at my settings here. You can rename it if you want to, a custom name with a sequence, a date. You can go in here and edit and create your own. So that's pretty cool. You can do whatever you want. I'm just going to leave that unchecked. File settings, and you want to make sure that is JPEG. Quality, you can be around 70, and nobody on screen is ever going to know any difference on 70. 70 is plenty. Color space, you're going to want to make sure that's on sRGB. The next one down is image resizing. Clicking on the resize to fit, what I like to do is select the long edge. That way if you're shooting in portrait or landscape, it's going to resize it to that longer edge. Here I'm going to put in the 1200 pixels and then 72 on the resolution. Output sharpening, this is just going to give it a little bit extra sharpening. I like to sharpen for screen and then choose the amount standard and then click the export button. so that it asks me where to place it. I'm going to just place it on the desktop here. Select folder. Up here it gives you a status and task completed. Now if I go take a look, here the photo is on my desktop. And there it is, ready to do whatever you need to with it.